All right, guys, just so that you know, this room is being recorded, and you may or may not know this, but once upon a time, long time ago, it feels like, we used to do this every week, and then gallbladder started acting up. Lauren started not being able to manage her time, which is super ironic, and we just decided to take a break for a few months, but we're back and we're excited because we have got a ton of, we have prepared ahead for the amazing topics that we're going to be discussing. And today we are discussing about preparation and why it matters and why we need to lean into preparation seasons. And I know that, at least for me, that there are, I can look back on my life and identify preparation seasons. I can also look back on my life and identify preparation moments. Another word for a preparation moment is failure, right? And we don't need to talk about that right this second, but I thought I'd open us up with with a funny story from my own life, which has got nothing to do with business, but it's got everything to do with preparation and how much preparation matters to us. And so you may not know this about me, but a long time ago in another life, when I lived in another country, I used to run a lot, for fun. It was my self-care tool, I guess. It was a way in which I created community and connected with people that I loved, and it was a way that I got all my frustration out. And I would run half marathons once upon a time, a long time ago. And my first ever half marathon, a girlfriend and I, it was in another city, a coastal city. So I live very inland in South Africa, near a city called Johannesburg. It was very flat. That's an important piece of information for the story. And our first ever half marathon that we were going to run together, we thought we were going to go big or go home. We planned a girls' weekend, and we booked a half marathon about half a day away in a coastal city. And what's special about this half marathon is that it's in a region that is mountainous and foresty. And it's known, or it's claim to fame, is the forest elephants that used to live in the woods there. And so it's really beautiful, romantic. The hills are on the sea, and so you can imagine forest elephants on mountains, on lagoons by the ocean, right? Really gorgeous. And so we're yes, that's the marathon for us. So we're going to start with that one. And we booked this beautiful girls' weekend away in this beautiful little bungalow on the ocean, and it was wonderful. Except we did all of our training in the flattest part of the country imaginable. And so where we lived, you'd be hard-pressed to find one decent hill. In fact, there was only literally one decent hill, and that was the only hill I had ever trained on a couple times, before this marathon, which was in the mountains, up and down, up and down, up and down, and the only stretch of flat that this marathon had was the end. And so it was okay because it was beautiful, right? Who cares? And so we got there, and we are standing in this crowd of 1,000 people getting ready to start. And I overhear some lady talking to some other lady about, does she remember how to take the hills, the downhills? And I was say what? And I started eavesdropping in a conversation, and they were going over with each other the training that they had done for downhill running. And I had never run down up until that day, I had never actually run down a hill. And I was about to run down 21 kilometers worth, or at least half of that. So 10 kilometers worth of downhills. And I'd never run downhill once in my life. And so the friends were reminding each other, you need to run down the hill on you need to run down, I think she was saying, I can't even remember what she was saying, but either on tippy toes or on the ball of your foot or something like that. And so I'm listening in okay, this is important information. I need to make sure that when I run down the hill, I run down on my tippy toes. That's what I understood. They were saying that you need to run down on your heel. And I what I understood was I need to run down on the front ball of the foot, which is like basically your tippy toes. And so I got it wrong. And I started running up the hills, which were okay. They were rough, but they were okay. And then I started, when I would run downhill, and sometimes the incline was as bad as like 30, 35, 45 degrees. I would run down on my tippy toes, which was okay for the first one or two hills. But by the time I was getting to like the second half of the race, my calf muscles started seizing because they had not once in their life, ever, in the history of my existence, hey Martha, never, ever, ever run on tippy toes before. And so here is me thinking that the first time to practice this theory, which I eavesdropped over on someone else's running conversation, strategy conversation, I'm going to run downhill on my tippy toes. Needless to say, I have never been in more pain in my life than that day. Not even recovering from a cesarean 3 times. And I nearly didn't make it to the finish line because I couldn't walk. I did make it to the finish line, but I couldn't walk after that. And the next day, I had scheduled a road trip to drive back to my hometown for 13 hours, half of which I would be in the driver's seat. And in South Africa, we don't have automatic cars. We have to drive stick shift, which requires a lot of leg movements, all in all. And so I just thought that would be a really lighthearted way to start off by saying preparation matters. And the stuff often that we don't think about, or the stuff that we don't see coming, not because we're bad or because we're stupid or because we, any of those judgments that we make against ourselves. Like, I literally lived in the flattest town in South Africa. I did not once think that you needed a different running technique to run down a hill until I actually had to run down 10 kilometers worth of hills, and I nearly ended up not finishing my race, or I nearly ended up going home from my race in an ambulance because of that one preparation oversight. And so it's kind of my funny story, but at the time it was not very hilarious. It was like excruciating. It was also excruciating to pee on the side of the road the day after, let alone to drive. And so, yeah, this is my funny, lighthearted opener to you guys, like how we prepare and how we embrace the season of preparation and training. And I think that also is something to say, like, a lot of us look at preparation and training, those like early mornings, those dark mornings, those afternoons when we are alone and no one is watching and there are no medals, there are no people standing on the side of the road screaming for you to cross the finish line. All you have is yourself to get across the finish line. Like, I think we look at those moments and go, I can't wait for this to not be my life. I can't wait for the finish line, and I can't wait for the race, and I can't wait for the medals, and I can't wait for, the elephants in the forest and all of that stuff. But when we neglect that season of preparations, and when we overlook it, and when we don't take every single opportunity that we can in that season, I think it comes back for us later. So Megan, I don't know if you want to take it from here, and what are your thoughts? Like, and anyone else, like, this is a room where we like to share stories and just connect with each other, and me too. This is how I can identify, or this is like I can share. So if you want to speak up, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll invite you to the platform, or the floor. I think that's what it's called. Megan, over to you, friend.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that. It actually reminded me of this season of preparation I spent before marriage. And I had just become a Christian. I'd just given my heart to Jesus. And I knew that boys had been a distraction for me for my entire life, basically, as soon as I was aware of them. And so I knew that if I didn't take that season to really get to know Jesus for who he was and, who he is, and just let my roots grow really, really deep, that I would be distracted by the first boy that came along. And so I spent almost 2 years actually single on purpose so that I could really just get to know him and grow my roots so deep that nothing would shake the foundation of my faith. And people around me were like, you're ridiculous, because how are you ever going to get married if you're not dating anyone? And I chose not to spend that season of my life longing for a different one. And that has been such a huge foundation of who I am today. Just understanding that, the season that I'm in is for a purpose, and not wasting it hoping for a different one or waiting for a different one. And that has translated into business for sure, because most of you know I had a 13-year waiting period of failure in business. But I trusted that I was there for a reason, and that the desires that God had planted in my heart for business and wealth and all the things were there for a reason. And so that's why I was so stubborn and just kept going, regardless of the fact that other people were coming into the same business training and, 3 weeks later, we're like, I've made $10,000. And I'm like, I've made nothing. But I just kept going. And that whole time, I felt like a giant failure because nothing was happening. I wasn't signing people up. I wasn't making any money. I was just going further into debt, to be quite honest. But there was something inside of me that knew that this was just a season of preparation. And if I would just hold on, if I would just keep going, even though everything around me seemed like, you're failing, why are you still going? Even, family and friends were like, why are you still trying this? It looks like you're a part of the cult. But I just knew that this was a season of preparation. And now that I've met Martha, which I think everyone in this room knows who Martha is, but the most amazing mentor in the world. And I have, understood so much more about business and how to show up in a heart-centered way. I realized that all of my preparation is coming in handy now. And had I not, lasted for so long or given up beforehand, then I wouldn't be able to appreciate the season that I'm in now for such a time as this. And so I think it's really important to just not long for other seasons while we're in the ones that we're in, because we're there for a reason. So, look around and see, what can I learn from this season right now versus, what I wish my kids were older. I wish, I could, I wish I was out of debt. I wish I was this. I wish I was that. Just, it is what it is. And use the season that you're in to learn the things that you're meant to learn now. And, maybe my season would have been shorter had I not, maybe I was missing some lessons, but that's okay. I had a lot of personal growth to do, so I'm okay with that. Anyway, I see other people up here, so I want to pass the mic to whoever would like to. Lauren, you're so much better at this. Do you want to just pass the mic to someone?
Sure. We'll go in order of hands raised. So that means Tammy is next. Megan, I just had a good laugh because I think the more uncomfortable with failure we are, like the more personally we take it, the more difficult those moments become, right? Anyway, so Tammy, why don't you share with us what's on your heart? Over to you.
Thank you. I'm Tammy Hawksworth, and I am a lifelong student of learning, and I am in this process of being prepared for what's coming my way. And although, Megan, you said, like, you weren't seeing results, like you were doing all the prep work and not having, I'm in that stage. I'm preparing me for what's coming. I am doing all the things. I am sharing what I'm learning, and I am not yet receiving that bountiful abundance coming my way, although I am counting my blessings and working on seeing my value in what I am sharing and what I have to share. And I know it's coming. I can feel it's coming, but I'm not quite there yet. So being patient in this phase is challenging, and I get comments from family members like, oh, you're taking another course, are you? Oh, you're doing that? Like, really, is this going to be successful? You know, you failed before. What makes you think this is going to be different? And so, but I feel it in my heart. I am on the right path, and I am headed in the right direction, and it is coming. I feel it's going to be a floodgate when it arrives, and I am preparing for that now. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thanks so much, Tammy. I just love, when you said I'm a lifelong student of learning, I was like, yes, that's my people. I just love that. And I love when you said about like, hey, like patience is challenging. I don't know if anyone else in the room can like vouch for like, yes, patience, that invitation to learn patience and that invitation to nourish that character trait in us. Yes. Yes. Okay, true. Anyway, I'm going to pass the mic over to Martha. My name is Lauren and I'm speaking.
Hey, Martha Krejci here. Nice to hang out with you guys. I love hearing your voices. It's like you're in my house right now, which is fun. Also, if you were in my house right now, you would have seen me spill an entire bottle of kosher salt all over everything. So that will need to be cleaned up here in just a second. But, and it was likely due to lack of preparation on opening that bottle. So anyway, what I love about what you guys are saying is, first of all, Tammy, I love that you address the fact that, like, I'm in the season of waiting. I'm here. I'm doing the things. I feel it coming. I know it's coming. But also I'm sitting here waiting, right? Because there are those moments that we have where it's those moments between the moments. The one where your stomach drops a little bit and you're like, oh my gosh, what if they're right? What if all of those people that are saying to me, like, you know, oh, you're taking another course, oh, you're going to do this thing, oh, haven't you tried this already before? What do you think is going to make it work now? All the things that small-minded people say. And then in those moments between the moments is where the enemy comes in, honestly, and it grabs those thoughts and it just makes your stomach drop. And you're just like, oh my gosh, are they right? Should I be continuing to do this? Does this even make sense? And whenever you start working within your logical mind, it doesn't. Let's just be real. It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't, like, logically on paper, Tammy has done X, Y, and Z. Tammy should have X, Y, and Z. Tammy doesn't yet have X, Y, and Z. Why does Tammy think she's still going to go? And that is where miracles are born. And so the way that I see the world and the way that I've experienced the world on my own is that God shows up in the moments where it looks like nothing else is going to. For us to be able to really shout out the glory of God, he has to show up in the moments where it looks like nothing else is going to work, right? He's got to. And then whenever that happens, that's when we get to shout out, like, this, God did this. This is not me. This is God. God did this. Like, always pointing to the Father, right? And then another thing in the waiting, I just want people to understand that, like, me and my own growth, and not everybody knows me, and that's okay, but in my own growth, in the beginning stages, the first few years, you guys, it was what can be described as, there's a lot of people that use this metaphor, but it's the pulling back of the string on the bow, right? It's the pulling back and it's the stretch. It's the, oh my gosh, this is scary. Pulling back isn't moving forward. It's pulling back, right? It's creating strength, and it's creating a propulsion that is going to drive you forward, but still it's going backwards, right? And that's where I spent the first few years of my business, was going backwards, was taking out loans, was trying different things, and they didn't seem to be working. And then I kept going and I kept going and I kept going. But that was the pulling back of the string, because you guys, as that was being pulled back, I was learning a lot. I was developing myself a lot. I was creating, or beginning to create, I suppose, the mindset of the person that was going to be able to handle all that crap whenever it started happening and I started winning. Because winning doesn't equal best life ever. Winning equals sometimes a lot of judgment, right? But you got to be able to handle that. And it was in the pulling back that I could feel secure in the moving forward. Because if I weren't pulled back with all of that stress, the moving forward would have felt like a dream and like I didn't deserve it, and I would have lost it somehow. But it's because I knew I deserved it. I earned it, right? Like this is my thing. But that's in the pulling back of the string of the arrow. So just for people that are in, their whatever stage you're in life, I feel like we're always getting pulled back on that string, right? We always should be, in my opinion. This is a growth thing. So we always are being pulled back in some capacity. So to find joy and to find peace in being pulled back, like that's where it's at. Because if you can have faith that where you're going after that is actually going to be way beyond what you believed was possible for yourself, but it has to come after the being pulled back part, it makes that preparation phase and that waiting phase so much easier. But I just realized I got long-winded, so I'm Martha Krejci and I'm done talking.
Thank you so much for sharing, Martha. I love that. I love taking notes during Clubhouse, and one of the things that stood out to me that what you said was that God shows up in the moments when it looks like nothing else is going to. And I think in that way, like if we can reframe what we're calling waiting, if we can reframe what we are calling failure, if we can reframe what we're calling like the season, like the long season, as the preparation for miracles, preparation for God to show up, then I think that creates anticipation more than it does frustration. And I think it's just like how you frame it that makes a big difference. And then the other thing that I heard you say that I just really want to emphasize, which I never heard you speak about before, is, in this moment of waiting, in the preparation season, in the season where we feel like there's more failure than we prefer. Like I heard you say, like you get like I think we pour a lot of judgment on ourselves. In failure, we also, I guess, perceive a lot of judgment from the people around us. But that doesn't go away with success, and that we still need to learn. And I know Megan, you've spoken about this a lot as well. Like you need to create and learn to master the tools of managing those voices, those thoughts, and the perceptions and opinions of other people. And that it really is like if we just handle it haphazardly and if we're like, oh, I just want this to go away, then we never actually take the time to learn how to manage and discipline this stuff. Because I think we have this rosy idea of success that at a point we feel successful, then all of that other stuff goes away. But actually, the preparation season is not just preparation to be successful, but it's preparation to manage and steward success in a sustainable way. I'm going to hand over to Rachel now. Lauren, and I'm done speaking.
Oh my goodness, guys, this is my first time in Clubhouse in a while, and I have heart palpitations. I'm Rachel, and I'm so glad that you guys are doing this conversation. I just love it so much. I feel like in this season of preparation, I feel like I don't know if there's any part of your life that won't be a season of preparation for the next part coming. And so this is like cyclic, like Lauren was saying, and I just got so much out of what everyone's been saying. One of the things that I was thinking about is that as Martha was talking, I was thinking about being positioning yourself to be an instrument of God's glory. And that's really what's happening in this season, is that you're wanting, like for me, I want to be where I'm not ready to be yet. And that's part of the thing. But if you don't have that ache, you don't press in and you don't reach. And so it's like understanding that preparation is partly a place of aching and longing for that which God actually has for you, that you have need of building vision for. And so part of the prep is just building vision. And then also what Lauren, you drew out of what Martha said too, just that, shoot, I lost my train of thought. That's okay. But here's the other thing. God's wisdom is the part of preparation. So letting your trust be in God when you are walking out this path that seems like everyone is moving faster than you. This is how I feel. Everyone's moving so much faster than you. Everyone's going further than you. And then you think, what part do I have to play in that? Well, the truth is that I come from a background of no business knowledge whatsoever, no understanding of how to deal with my money. I actually cut up my credit cards because I realized I don't want to be in debt. That was what I did in my 20s. And to your point, Lauren, is that I didn't actually learn anything out of that. All I did was stop the repeated behavior, which I think was a very big benefit for my future. However, I'm now going and learning, what does it mean to steward your money well? What does it mean to actually do well with what you've been given, as far as that goes, and not just stop that cycle, but to build a new cycle. And I think we need to focus on recognizing the growth that we are having in this place of preparation instead of looking at what we don't have all of the time. And I think this just relates across the board to business and to life and to parenting and to, singles. I mean, just so much wealth of information and wisdom here to be had with the season of preparation. I hope you guys do this conversation again. Okay, I'm done. I'm Rachel and I'm out.
I love that, Rachel. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think it's really wise that you cut up your credit cards, and I wish I had had that wisdom in my 20s. Something I did want to mention that both you and Martha touched on was just the comparison. So like when you are in the season of being pulled back, before you can, be launched forward, a lot of times we look at other people's journeys and we're like, oh man, they're surging ahead so quickly. And, like, I'm such a loser, cancel clear, and we have no idea how long they have been pulled back for. We can't possibly know where they're at on that journey. So it doesn't make any sense to compare ourselves to others, but I see it happen all the time. And I see people feeling like failures because they feel like they're not surging ahead as fast. And it's like, man, you might be on the brink of being, launched. But if you give up because you're comparing yourself to someone who was just launched, then what is that? How is that going to help anybody? You're not going to be able to help your people. So that's why I often just keep my head down and I pay no attention to what other people are doing, because for a long time during those 13 years of failure, I was keeping my head up, looking around, being like, oh man, like, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was in the season that I needed to be in of being pulled back. Yeah. So, with that being said, Lauren, unless you have something to add, I am going to pass it over to Emily. So, I am Megan, and I'm done speaking.
I have nothing to add. Emily, take it away.
Alrighty. My name's Emily, and I am so thankful that you guys are doing this, having this conversation, because I have been in a season of preparation for the last 3 years. So 3 years ago, I started attempting to build my own business. And what I didn't realize at that point is that I still do have a lot of personal growth to achieve. And what I've realized, so Martha mentioned being pulled back in the sense of a bow and arrow. I see myself as a helicopter, and I'm going to explain that. So when a helicopter is sitting on the ground before it takes off, the pilot has to turn on the helicopter, then they do their checks and make sure that the helicopter is operating at optimal levels. So all the fluids are good, the meters are good, I'm going to call them wings. I'm not a super aviation kind of person, but make sure everything is functioning as it's intended before it gains the momentum to lift off of the ground and take flight. And what I'm seeing now is that over the course of the 3 years that I've been working and building up to where I'm going, which I know in my gut is huge, I've been checking the fuel, and some of the fuel and the oil was disgusting, so it needed to be changed and made new so that my helicopter would not crash. If my helicopter were to take off last year or the year before or the year before that, it would have crashed into a fiery ball of terribleness. And that is not my purpose on this earth, and that is not what God intends for me. So he kept me grounded, and he put the people in my life that I needed in my life to guide me. And there have been dark days where I was comparing myself to other people's success. And there have been days where I've really, truly felt like giving up. But I am pig-headed and stubborn, and I am determined to see my purpose through to where God wants me to be. So that is what I have been thinking about and wanted to share. My name is Emily, and I am done speaking.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Emily. I love that analogy, and I love your determination too. And I think it's just, I think that when we know what we want, and maybe more importantly than that, when we know what we're called to, and when we're not prepared to settle for whatever our circumstances look like, I think that counts for so much. And I mean, like, I can attest to, I can bear witness to that, like, grounded season, or that the oil changing season, or, you know, the character development part. And I can look back on my life, and in the moments, like, I love what Rachel said as well about every season's actually a preparation season. It's all preparation for what's next. And look back on my life, and just in the moment, it was agony. But in hindsight, and praise God for hindsight, has turned out to be the richest, most abundant fertilizer for whatever God is growing in my life right now. And some really heartbreaking situations have turned around to be really like the thing that has made it possible for me to do what I do today, and to know the things that I know. And so I love that, and I love that you shared that with us. Megan, did you have anything that you wanted to add before we pass on to Tara?
Yeah, it's really just echoing what you said. I mean, one of the most painful seasons of my life ended up being exactly what I needed to move into a dream come true. And, you know, if I had ended that season early, then I couldn't have moved on to where I want to be, because it needed to be a very specific amount of time, and it was exactly. And the thing about God is he's so incredible that he didn't make that season last any longer than it needed to. And so that's why I trust him so implicitly, because I know that everything really does work together for good. And if I will just trust him, even when it seems like I'm in this desert and nothing good could possibly come of it, he's always been faithful to make it the most beautiful thing. So I just wanted to add that. But I am going to pass the mic to Tara, and I'm Megan, and I'm done speaking.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can.
Awesome. This is my first time on Clubhouse. Thank you for inviting me to this super cool chat. This is blessing me so much. Megan, you said something quickly about waiting, like hoping your kids, would just hurry up and grow up, and so you could get on with the real things and do the important stuff. And that really touched me because I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom. Big family mom as well, and to be even more niche, also a homeschooling big family stay-at-home mom. And that's something I've really had to work out quietly in my heart, because with a big family, like motherhood isn't a 6-year gig when they just, from birth to school. And again, not standing in any kind of judgment, anyone, just speaking from my own heart and life, because this might resonate with someone else who's on this wonderful Clubhouse right now. So something that really helped me early in my motherhood, when several of my peers who had kids around the same time as me when I first started 16 years ago, and they were sending their kids off to school, and I had to process emotionally how that felt to really emotionally embrace the choice to homeschool when the babysitting aspect of sending your kids away to school, that's something I was choosing to forego, and I had my reasons for that, and I had to just process the emotions of stay-at-home motherhood, extended stay-at-home motherhood. And what helped me was choosing to see it as an opportunity to develop myself professionally, just in a maybe less modernly recognized way. Because right now, we're the point of history we're living at in the West. Oftentimes, women's value is tied to a career, particularly to a career outside of the home. And I just chose to process that and say, yeah, I could have rocked it in any career field I had chosen to. Prior to marriage, was killing it, quickly moving up management roles is just how God's wired me. And staying at home is a really hidden, it's like being a hidden gem kind of thing sometimes. So I chose to embrace motherhood wholeheartedly and say, I'm going to bring all the skills that I would have brought to a quote unquote profession, and I'm going to bring it home, and I'm going to bless my family with all that God's put in me, and I'm going to learn new stuff too, because I was totally unprepared for motherhood, and half the time I was guessing. So bringing that mindset really helped me as a mom basically put into practice Colossians 3:20, and doing everything as unto the Lord, not for some kind of human boss or human, gold stickers or promotions or bonuses. So I just want to share that in case that, it helps somebody who's on this call, because it's a long season of prep, and I had no idea that it was 16 years in. Suddenly, I would meet Martha Craigie, and my sister would tell me about her, and all of a sudden, I would be blessing other women from that very long season that I'm actually still in. My youngest is only 18 months, and I'm pregnant with number 11. But it's so beautiful that all that prep that I thought would only ever be for my kids is now turning around and blessing way more women than I ever would have imagined. So it's that season of feeling very hidden and alone and isolated was a prep that I never could have asked or imagined. That's so like God, right? More than I could have asked or imagined. So just want to share that from a stay-at-home mom's perspective. My name's Tara, and I have spoken. Thank you.
That was awesome, Tara. Thank you so much for just sharing your heart. And you're my sister, so I've literally watched you do this for 16 years. And I've never seen anyone run their household so incredibly well. And now it all makes sense that you were doing it from a perspective of, this is my business and I am going to show up in excellence. I love that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. I am going to pass the mic to Amy. So I'm Megan, and I'm done speaking.
Hi, I'm Amy. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. This is also my first time speaking on Clubhouse, so I'm excited to do this, but also nervous. And speaks right to the point that I'm going to state, which is that I so often spend so much time preparing to do things that I prepare myself right into paralysis, and I never actually move forward. And so right now, that's my biggest journey, is learning to trust myself, trust my instincts, trust that I can try something and I may fail, or I can try something and I may prosper, but stopping the process of doing so much preparation that I actually just stay in paralysis. So I'm Amy, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Amy, thank you so much for sharing that. And that is, I think we need to, Megan, I think one of our topics over the coming weeks needs to be preparation paralysis or analysis paralysis. I think that would be a great topic in and of itself. So thank you so much for the inspiration, Amy, and thank you also for sharing. Just that's real. That's real life. And guys, I was thinking before I hand over to Megan if she has anything to add, and then Lydia, one of the thoughts that I had just listening to everyone speak has been, like, I think I just see a lot of, like, how interconnected, how we're making who we are connected to and tied into what we do, and especially how what we do looks, right? And so, like, I'm like just hearing Tara's story about showing up professionally, giving it all that she's got to her motherhood, and how that looks from the outside, or how that maybe even looks to us, right? And how the temptation is to intertwine that with who we are. And so we look at what our business is doing or not doing, I guess, and we call that not good, which may in and of itself be problematic, that we're labeling, we're missing the goodness that could be there for us to find and use and leverage. But then we go a step further and we say, well, if that's not good, then I must not be good. And I think that is where this gets to be so dangerous. And I just wanted to encourage everyone, in Scripture, God creates, this is the feminist in me. God creates a man and he says, well, this is not good. There's something missing here. And then he creates a woman and he says, this is very good. And so there are times like when I feel lower, or when I'm tempted to take on the perception of other people, or when I'm tempted to give myself, my very being, the same label as that I'm giving a situation. And I turn around and I say, no, I am very good. And who I am and what I am has nothing to do with where I am. They're not the same thing. And I just wanted to encourage you guys that if we could just, first of all, reframe who we are and make how good we are completely unattached to what we're doing, how what we are doing is doing, and then take it a step further and just really reframe how we think about preparation seasons and things like failure. I think that we'll be a billion steps ahead, because we'll find our joy and our peace and our satisfaction in life regardless of what's happening around us. Megan, did you have anything you wanted to add before we hand it over to Lydia?
I do. I was going to just say that when it comes to analysis paralysis, sorry, I have a list. That's really hard to say. Y'all know what I mean. Anyway, when it comes to that, it is, what I find is when people will let themselves start moving in a direction, even if it turns out not to be the right direction, you'll know how to course correct as you go. One of my favorite quotes is, you can't turn a ship until it's moving. And that's exactly what I've done in my business. And just given myself the permission to pivot whenever I was like, oh, that's not quite right, let me just pivot. But if I had waited until I was completely sure of what I wanted to do and who I wanted to serve and all the things, then I would have only started doing anything a couple of months ago. And looking at it from this perspective, I may not have even gotten there because I wouldn't have been course correcting for the last year. And so I don't typically let myself get stuck in that mindset. And, if I do have pity parties occasionally, but they are very short-lived. I only let them happen for a very short amount of time, and then I get back up and keep going because I don't want to live there. And so that's what I tell anyone when it comes to this, is just move in a direction. Even if, you've got to course correct later, that's totally fine, because you'll only know where to course correct as you're going versus just standing still and it's all hypothetical in your head. So I hope that helps somebody. And I am going to pass it over to Lydia. I'm Megan and I'm done speaking.
Thanks again, ladies. And I'm so excited to see this room up and running again. It's been a good long while, but it was all part of the process, right? So it's all in God's good timing. If you've not yet met before, hi, my name is Lydia, and I am just so grateful for all the women who've spoken thus far and who shared their perspective with regards to business, life, faith, motherhood, and the fact that all of these are examples of where we can grow and develop within preparation. And in this preparation process, I was just processing this through as I was listening to everyone and taking notes. And there are some things that I noticed along the way. So something that I do, just because it's something I do, is I'm always looking for patterns. I'm always looking at life as a story and looking at people's lives as stories. And what is it that's coming up again? What is it that repeats? And what are those signaling to us? And in particular, I was seeing that with regards to listening, that is super, super key in the process of preparation, of being in a place where our ears are open and our hearts are open to where it is that God is directing us next. And when we're doing that, there's a level of trust in his promise, and there's a level of trust in what he's put in our heart to do that honestly the world at large tends to move away from. It tends to be more focused on how is it that I can best basically conform to whatever culture has going on around me versus choosing to step out from that space and do something different. Each of us are called to step out and do something different. And when we are in that space of, well, I don't want to be too loud, I don't want to seem like I'm too much, and maybe I just need to hang back, that's where stagnation happens. And so when we're choosing to listen and when we're choosing to be open, that is super, super key. So that's an observation as well as an encouragement to just be in a place to listen and to hold on to those promises. And next was the fact that, when I'm looking at this panel of women and I see all your faces, and to realize that these are individuals that I did not know and was not connected to even a year and a half ago, right? No, well, maybe about a year and a half ago. So about 2 years ago, right? But to realize that the connection and the companionship, when that happens, it's, to me, what I'm realizing is that good, solid companionship is typically how do we say, a canary in the coal shed that something awesome is about to happen. That when we're walking through a season where we're alone, it doesn't mean that God is not moving. It's a call to be faithful. It's a call to walk in that excellence, just like Joseph did. But man, when that, hold on, was it the baker or was it the cupbearer? It was the cupbearer. Okay, so when it was the cupbearer, right, in the story of Joseph, it's in the first book of the Bible, Genesis, and it talks about how the cupbearer, when he remembered Joseph, that was what allowed him to be able to move into that position of, I'm in prison too, I'm second in command of the most powerful kingdom on the planet, right? But it was that connection and that companionship that acted as an accelerator. So it's just realizing that when that's part of your pattern, when that's part of what's coming up for you, it's an awesome sign. It's great stuff. And also in that process, and you guys may have touched on this earlier, I do apologize if that was the case, and it's that in that time of preparation, that will be as you're really starting to move towards a point of leveling up, as you're starting to move towards a place of that new experience of growth. So it's like you're kind of shifting, going up and up and up. Don't be surprised if distraction comes, if there are things that come alongside or try to come alongside or try to basically act like obstacles along the way. Now, most people, when those distractions come, could easily shut down or run away or choose, this is just too much. I'm just going to forget it. Maybe I was just hearing voices. Maybe this isn't actually for me. Maybe there's something wrong with me and I just need to figure out how to shut this off. No, that is an invitation to choose to focus, to choose to go back to those promises, to choose to listen in and to really stay close to God's heart. Because that's part of that preparation process, right? Is that the distractions are there to test our commitment to what it is that he has for us and what it is that we're called to do. So that is all I have to share. I am Lydia and I am complete.
Thank you, Lydia. That was amazing. And Lauren and I think that you should close out every room because that was epic. So thank you for just sharing your heart, and we just so appreciate you and your wisdom. That was really good stuff. Lauren, I'm going to see if you have anything to add before we pass it over to Delshad.
I don't know how to follow Lydia. That was just like, whew. Okay, all I wanted to say was, when you mentioned how our community can be the canary in the coal shed, that something amazing is going to happen, like, I choked up and had to, like, don't cry. That just welled up inside my heart, and just, like, my emotions said, like, yes, that is the real deal right there. And, like, I've only ever heard or used that expression in a negative sense. The canary in the coal shed for when something is going to go wrong, right? And I can't think of a more beautiful redemption of that analogy. Like, and that is, I can't say anything. Like, that is so true. That is so, so, so true. And I think that in moments and seasons of preparation, and in particular when we are experiencing our preparation season as failure, we isolate ourselves from people that we feel bad about being around. So, like, we tend to isolate ourselves from people that we feel like, right, it's all about our perceptions, are rubbing it in our faces. What I'm hearing you say, and what I resonate with is true, is that we should actually get as close as those people as we possibly can. Because when we rub shoulders, and like what I like to say is that not just rubbing shoulders, but rubbing hearts with people, right? Because sometimes we can rub shoulders with people and it's very self-interested, it's selfish, it's about what I can get out of this relationship. I just want the proximity to whatever success or whatever. But I think that when we rub shoulders and when we rub hearts with people that not just people that we aspire to be like, not just people whose stuff we aspire to have, right? When we rub shoulders and hearts with people that we aspire to be like, people who call us up, people who invite us to do better, people who lift our heads, people who raise our sights beyond where we are, like, yes. All of that, just yes. I think so far, and a lot can happen in 5 minutes, but so far that is like the one thing that is like burned on my heart from today's conversation. That if anything else, you guys, if when you're feeling tired, when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling frustrated, just look around you. Who are you rubbing shoulders with? Who are you rubbing hearts with? Because that is if nothing else, that is an indication that amazing things are on their way. I'm Lauren, and I'm done speaking. And Delshad, if you had anything that you wanted to share, now's your moment.
Hi, everybody. My name is Delshad Sanakis. So nice to meet you. Hey, Megan, Lauren, Rachel, Emily, Tara, Amy, and Lydia. Everybody down below. Britt, Deb, Toby, Leslie, Carly, and Jessica. So nice to see everybody. Oh, man. You guys had so much to say, and I wasn't sure what the room was about. So I can see that it says preparation matters. And one of the things for me that I do to prep is take care of my mind. You know what I mean? I'm always about mindset, how to get myself to a place where I'm ready to either make changes, do it anyway, which is my motto, whether you're ready or not, just do it anyway. But thinking about the places that I want to be, and not always thinking about mistakes or worries or what ifs. And my what ifs are usually like, what if I succeed? What if this goes big? What if I join up with Megan and Lauren? What if I reach out to Lydia and everything goes well? And I think those are the things that a lot of people don't think about, is getting your mindset right before you just, worry about failure, right? And as I think Megan was saying, or maybe it was Lauren, how you have to just do it anyway. And then when you do, you can course correct, make your changes. But I feel like none of that will work if you're not in that mindset of, I am okay, I am good, I am all right, I am safe, and I am really smart because I know I can do this. And with the knowledge that you already have, and the places in the community that you put yourself in, like this one, you will be all right. And someone will pick you up if you trip, and then you'll be able to help them when they trip, or you'll get some amazing constructive feedback. So I hope this helps everyone. This is Delshad, and I'm good.
I think it's my turn. Thank you so much, Delshad, and thank you. What an incredible way, I guess, to close off the room today. You're right. We have actually spent a lot of time focusing on preparation and the feelings of failure, or the perceptions of failure, or the my preparation season, the judgments we make, it's taking too long. And I just love how you brought like that really positive, optimistic point of view. Like, yeah, what if in my preparation season everything goes amazingly? What if as I prepare to reach out to so-and-so, or as I prepare this offering, or as I prepare this product or service, or as I work on this, everything goes better than I could have ever expected? And how can I prepare for success? Right? And I love that nuanced approach. I think implicitly, we have been speaking about preparation, and like I said, the failure aspect, or at least the perception, but just to say like, hey, I'm preparing, I'm excited because I'm preparing to win. That's what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing to live out my purpose. I am living out my purpose. I am preparing to help other people succeed. I am preparing for success. I am preparing for the life that I'm dreaming of. I'm getting myself ready for it. And that is just an incredible way to just close this out. So Megan, I'm done speaking. I'm going to hand this over to you to take us to 10:30.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for popping into this room. Like we had mentioned at the beginning of the call, we are going to do this every week with different topics, because we were doing it for a long time before, and then life got in the way, and we were in a different season of preparing. So now we are back and would love to connect with you guys. Lauren has an incredible mentorship program, so I'm just going to give her a shout out for that. So if you are wanting to be mentored by one of the greats, then I would connect with her and just see if her mentorship program works for you and fits with your life. But as for me, it fits with mine. So just wanted to give a shout out to Lauren because she's awesome. But otherwise, we will see you guys next week, same time, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. Have an amazing day and rest of your week.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.